the Men in Black. Everyone who's heard of them can't help but be fascinated by their secrecy, and anyone who's tried doing research on them will know that, real or not, there really is a lack of information out there about their existence. Now, most people's perception of them comes from the famous movie The Men in Black, or even the observers from Fringe, but in this video you will see that the real thing is far more terrifying than how they are portrayed in the media. In real life, it's believed they dress in black suits and come into your home uninvited or bump into you in the street to tell you that what you thought was an alien craft or alien being was just your imagination running wild. It wasn't really there, so do not go spreading it around to your friends or family, or we will bring you nothing but harm. They are said to work with or for the government, and apparently often claim to be representatives of the Nation of the Third Eye, either as government officials or some part of the military service. Their appearance is believed to be somewhat agent-looking, with their black suits, hats, and sometimes glasses. Those who believe they have been contacted by them say that it's not their clothing that disturbs them though, but their unusual facial features and odd behaviour. In 80% of believed reports, they have been described as having no facial hair, large unhuman eyes, bizarre movements, and monotone robotic voices. This has led many to believe that the Men in Black might not actually be men in black, but instead extraterrestrial beings working alongside the government, trying to keep secrets from getting out. If you have seen the video I made about believed Men in Black encounters, you will know that visits from them date back to the Maury Island incident in 1947, but since then there have been hundreds of believed visits from them, 5 of which I talked about in that other video, such as Albert K. Bender's encounter in which men dressed in black harassed and threatened him after he was going to publish what he believed was strong evidence of alien sources, leading to him closing down his publications, right up to the famous actor Dan Aykroyd's encounter in New York City. But there are many more believed encounters, and an extremely interesting one is that of Danny Gordon. It all started in Wytheville, Virginia on the morning of October the 7th, 1987, when radio reporter Danny Gordon checked in, but this time he reported over the radio that 3 local sheriff's deputies all claimed to have seen a UFO nearby. After Danny's skeptical report to the listeners, the radio station was flooded with people claiming that they too also witnessed the unknown craft. Being a skeptic and thinking it was just experimental aircrafts, 2 weeks after all the phone-ins and reports, Danny and his friend decided to take a trip to where these UFOs were being reported. They did see something strange in the sky, but it was the second day when they returned where Danny managed to get a photograph that would back up everyone's reports. He returned home, but before he had a chance to develop the photo, he said he received a call from somebody who refused to identify himself. He told Danny that the CIA and the federal government were very interested in the Wythe County UFOs. Danny also received a few unknown calls from a person saying, "It's not for your place to be messing in defense matters." Danny attended a press conference on the sightings on October the 23rd, 1987, and when he returned, he noticed his house had been broken into. Nothing was stolen, but Danny is convinced someone was looking for the photographs he took. He quickly developed them, but they were poor quality, but a few weeks later he managed to spot the UFO again in the sky, outside of a mall whilst with his family, and once again photographed these mysterious lights. For weeks after this, he was harassed by phone calls from believed government agents, and on one occasion 2 men visited his home to supposedly interview him about the UFO sighting. Danny said they stayed for around 45 minutes. One was talking and the other man was taking photographs of his home. They told him it would be published in the local newspaper and that they would send it to him. Danny didn't suspect anything suspicious with all of the media attention he had been getting during this time, but when he didn't receive the paper weeks after, he rang up the local newspaper and they told him that they had not run a report on him. A few weeks later, Danny was looking through his UFO files, including some of the photographs he had taken, but noticed that the set he took outside of the mall were missing. Danny was now confident the men who entered his home were the real Men in Black and had stolen the photographs. A few months later, Danny collapsed due to severe exhaustion and was cautioned that continuing his UFO research could jeopardize his health, so he broke contact with all things UFOs and has not had any more trouble. Since more than 1,500 people reported seeing UFOs in the sky within a 3-month period in Wytheville, it definitely makes this an interesting case, so maybe Danny was really telling the truth. He never really profited from telling his story, and with his health deteriorating, it seems only bad things came from it. So do you think he was tormented by the Men in Black, who were desperate to keep the photos he took from getting out into the public? Whether Danny's case is real or not, one thing all encounters have in common is the fact that these strange men seem to have a scary amount of knowledge on the person they are talking to. They seem to know dates, times, locations, and descriptions of exactly what the person has witnessed. And this next case is no different, and is probably one of the most interesting cases I have read about. It took place in the 1960s when Timothy Green Beckley, a UFO researcher, claims to have caught a real man in black on camera who had been watching Jack Robinson and his wife for several nights. Jack Robinson was a Jersey City UFO investigator and believes he and his wife were under surveillance by a man in black who knew of Jack's extensive UFO research. The man would often be seen in the doorway of a building directly opposite Jack's home, and on more than one occasion, Jack and his wife would return home to find their house not as they'd left it. It wasn't a mess, but they could tell someone had been in there, and Jack could tell his UFO research papers had been disturbed. Jack's wife said that she had seen a man dressed in black looking up at the house with an emotionless look on his face, and they became convinced they were being observed. They mentioned the strange activity to Timothy Beckley and his friend Jim, and the pair decided to drive over to the house to check it out for themselves. And sure enough, just as Jack and his wife had described, a man dressed in black was stood in a doorway looking up at the house. Tim managed to take this photo and believes it's genuine proof of the Men in Black's existence. Shortly after the photograph was taken, the mysterious man was never seen again. Now, I know it could easily be faked, but no one has come forward to prove that it is, so we may never know. You see, the problem with these reported encounters is that they come from people who claim they have been contacted, and in general, most people do not believe that random members of the public are credible witnesses, with many thinking these people are just hoping to gain fame and fortune. But what about when official government members raise concerns about the Men in Black? Well, that's when things get interesting. In 1967, the United Air Force expressed concern that there were a number of people claiming to be part of the US services, going around dressed in black telling UFO witnesses to keep quiet. Colonel George Freeman, who was a spokesperson for the Project Blue Book at the Pentagon, which was responsible for a series of studies into unidentified flying objects, said this: "Mysterious men dressed in Air Force uniforms or all in black and displaying impressive credentials from government agencies have been silencing UFO witnesses. We have checked a number of these cases and these men are not connected to the Air Force in any way. We haven't been able to find anything out about these men. By posing as Air Force officers and government agents, they are committing a federal offense. We would like to catch one. Unfortunately, the trail is always too cold by the time we hear about these cases, but we are still trying." Although this certainly doesn't prove the existence of the Men in Black, it's strange that they felt the need to raise that point. So, are the Men in Black government agents sent out to keep witnesses of UFOs and extraterrestrial sightings quiet? Or are they themselves some kind of alien being from another planet working alongside humans? Or are they nothing more than a mythical figure conjured up in our minds over the years? What do you think? I can tell you one thing from my own experience. Like I said, anyone researching them will have a hard job finding anything on them, as there is a complete lack of information on the internet. So if they are real, then they sure as hell are being covered up well. So that's it for this documentary. I hope you've enjoyed, and remember, if anyone knocks on your door late at night, shortly after you've seen or been researching aliens and UFOs, it's probably best not to answer.